No wonder I can't stay away from him with introductions like that for a measure. I can't even pay for introductions like that anywhere else. Thank you. Obviously, it's from the heart. Thank you very much for having me here today. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on Doric land here today and pay our respects to elders both past and present for their custodianship of the land. Each and every one of you, Iman Kassa, my very good friend, and I've got to say from day one that he's been here and that I've been in the role as mayor and as councillor, he's always been so open and free with his time. When I've been here, popped in occasionally for coffees. I know it's on our list, we've got to catch up again. But it's such a fantastic Iman to have where you can actually bounce ideas and talk to him and actually get the truth of world issues and local issues. And he's a credit to the Ahmadiyyan Muslim community. So Iman Kassa, I think I'd like, together we should put our hands together for what great leadership he shows. Just briefly, it's such an important to have the conference to update people on where we are and how to move forward, and having from time to time politicians, and I promise not to take up too much of your time because each and every one of you need to be commended, I think, from the beginning as well. What a hot day to have in Sydney at this time of year when it's usually cold, raining and miserable. Obviously having the conference here, whenever you have your conference, it's always hot. So, maybe next year move it to July and we're going to have a 40-degree temperature in July. But essentially, I'd just like to run on a couple of themes, because for us to get over adversity, for us to get over the racial intolerance and other problems, I think there's two key things. And if you look at United Nations, they often quote, if you want to raise the standard of any country in the world, it's health and education. If you want to make people healthier, you help them, better water supplies, etc. You improve the quality of life through education and health. Now, Australia, I suppose, the health is lots of money being spent by the governments, as we're seeing Blacktown Hospital about to become the fourth largest in New South Wales. A lot of investment in the Nepean Hospital across the place. We have the challenges of health in relation that we may be too healthy, in relation that we are eating too much and becoming a little bit heavier than we should be. So we need to focus on how to improve our lifestyle and health. So I suppose that area of the world for us is in a reasonable situation, maybe too good. Education is the big challenge. I am amazed at some of the debates that happen out there about the university. There's too much debate focusing on that you've got to have a university degree that focuses on a job. And it has to be a job-related, trade-related, and it's got to have real practicality, they keep saying. As we all know, university is not just getting you ready for the job of today. The university, yes, gets you ready to be able to do that job, and TAFE colleges as well, but essentially critical thinking is so important in universities. The ability to challenge, the ability to think, the ability to ask the right questions is so important for the community, because in the end, with education, you get the politicians, civic leaders, the imams, priests, you name it, all the community leaders are held to account because society is smarter. By making society smarter, you won't be caught up with some glib lines. And then therefore, with the extra knowledge, we can then challenge the thinking, and by challenging the thinking in a positive way, we actually move forward. To a certain extent, it's like the Western Sydney Cities deal. Who's heard of the Western Sydney Cities deal that was announced a few weeks ago? Not too many people. Okay. Apart from that, Prime Minister and the Premier might be a bit worried, but anyway. So they announced this new deal for Western Sydney. We are out here in Marsden Park, in a thriving, growing area. Something like 10,000 people a year move into this area in the city of Blacktown. Do you think Blacktown is part of Western Sydney? Now I'm hearing everyone participating. So do I. I think we should be the capital of Western Sydney, really. They picked out 8 councils and excluded Blacktown. How can you have that? If we had critical thinking and people actually can read through and identify when the government says we're doing X, Y, Z, we as a people should be able to question it. I'm not saying in a negative way, but question everything. How can we improve upon it? They have 8 councils. By excluding Blacktown, if they would have added Blacktown into the Western Sydney Cities deal, so the councils of Hawkesbury, Penrith, Blue Mountains, Liverpool, Camden, Campbelltown, Wallandilly. So you live in Bargo, 100 kilometres south of here, you're in downtown metropolitan Western Sydney, you live in Blacktown, you're not. Tell me about it, 4,000 people in Bargo, very nice people, but I don't know if I classify them as Western Sydney, and Fairfield. So to a large extent, what I'm saying is by excluding Blacktown, if you included Blacktown, you would have increased the economic output by 36%, the population by 34%. And 20% of all the growth in the entire Western Sydney, if you include Parramatta and everybody else, is actually here. So by excluding us all out, guess what's happened? We hear about, for the Western Sydney Cities deal, that the railway line goes to St Mary's, full stop. As we all know, the railway line should go not only from St Mary's, but through here in Marsden Park, through the northern end of Mount Druitt, Marsden Park and on to Cudgegon, just down the road. Should be intellect. Yep, there's no debate, no discussion. The problem today is far too much that people do not take, or the leaders of our community do not bring the people with them. And as far as my mayorship has always been and my involvement with the community, I've been mayor for 4 years, and from almost day one, we do community forums. Every month I'm out there somewhere and being held to account, like here today, standing up where the council says for the community of that local suburb, whether it's in Doonside, in Marryong, in Marsden Park, wherever, we hold a community forum, we have the opportunity to say what we're doing in the local area and then asking for your feedback and engagement, true consultation. Have the public debate. Too many people are scared and run away from that. And hence why we want to have a university in the city of Blacktown, as a city that's 350,000 growing to 500,000, and we don't have a university here. How ridiculous is that? 18,000 of our children living in Blacktown City have to travel out of the area to get an education. How ridiculous. 18,000? That's a gigantic university on its own. We as a community need to stand up together and say there should be proper planning for Western Sydney. If we talk about universities, fine, let's work out where the specialties are, how do you build it? We want to give our children a proper future, a proper opportunity to move forward. And through these forums, and this is why I love attending these forums, because hopefully I get a bit of an opportunity to wander around and chat to people, because by talking to you one-on-one and hearing what your goals and ambitions are and how we can improve. The politicians aren't the fountain of all knowledge, but we are the ones who are the decision makers. And without talking to people, you operate in a vacuum. We need to work together with the various religious organisations, with community leaders, with sporting groups, with volunteer organisations, with you, our residents and citizens right across Western Sydney and Sydney Basin, and that way we can actually now really put together a plan over the next 20, 30 years where we build quality cities, because don't forget, over 1 million people in the next 20 years is moving into Western Sydney. We've got to be worried about our quality of life. We've got to make sure we've got the right health systems, the right education, and that we, with an extra 1 million people from the various walks of all the world that will be located here, that we together in harmony move forward, and hence the motto here for the Armadeans, hatred for none and love for all. I went in the wrong way around, didn't I? Love for all and hatred for none. How important is that theme? And with your theme and what you stand for, and then holding governments to account, we will produce a society that we will all be proud of and that we can live harmoniously. Thank you very much for having me.